ministers and our brothers and sisters in Christ. In 1963, we had the March on Washington.
Yes, sir.
Last year, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of that march.
That's right.
It was a national celebration. Folks came from around the country and around the world. Even delegations from Iowa traveled to Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yet perhaps the most important 50th anniversary we ought to be celebrating from that era is in this year. And there are two occasions where we're 50 years removed from these pronouncements, and they should serve as a clarion call to action. On January 8, 1964, President Johnson declared an unconditional war on poverty.
All right.
Yet 50 years later this month, in our own city, more than 70% of the families with children in this district cannot feed them without the government putting food on the tables. And in some places in this state, there is no food. When I had a chance to travel the state, I was in Waterloo and we were holding a hearing. And Norm Granger, who had been a football star and county supervisor in Waterloo and now was working with young people, talked about this little boy who came up and hugged him after Thanksgiving. And he said, "Why are you hugging me?" He said, "I'm so happy I get to eat." He went from the day he left school to the day he returned and had not eaten. And we don't believe that. And it's not just a racial issue. When you travel this state, you begin to understand that poverty has no respect of color. There are places in this state where poverty is severe and is crippling and is debilitating. And the face of it is white, just like the face of poverty in this community is brown and black.
Yeah.
And then we have the 50th anniversary of perhaps Dr. King's most important work and most important call, and that's the 50th anniversary of the release of Why We Can't Wait. We remember his words, "I have a dream." Yet the words we ought to embrace is that we cannot wait any longer.
That's right.
But our struggle is different today than it was then. 50 years ago, there were systemic barriers, legal barriers, that prevented us from rising up. And yet we still prevailed in the face of legal oppression. Today, the enemy is within. Today, the enemy is in the mirror. Now, if I were a better politician, I'd probably stop there.